Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. With me in the studio, as always, is the magnificent man himself, Mr. Eric J. Morin.
The magnificent. I like it. It's a good one. Man, that wedding ring's popping, man. I like that. You know, like, are you used to it yet? Are you used to it?
Yeah, it gives me, I'm always a fidgeter. So It gives me something to fidget when I'm like just sitting here. So I'm getting used to it. It was the first time I got it, it was a little bit too tight. I was like freaking out a little bit. It's like that PTSD. He's like, am I going to be able to get this off? I have a little too much pasta or something. I'm like, oh God, but we're good now.
Going to Italy will do that to you.
Exactly. That's what I was worried about. I was like, what if I'm just sitting in Italy and I can't get this ring off?
So what was your weight when did you go up in weight, or was it just stay the same?
No, I mean, you walk friggin' 10 miles per day, so it all balances out.
So Matthew's decided that in the future he likes the idea of going to a resort and not actually traveling the countryside.
Yes, we're definitely beach people. It wasn't even the country. I would be fine going to the countryside, but when you're in Italy, you kind of go to the cities. And I like your style of the Oriental Express type action. That seems like more of my vibe, where it's just, it's just lackadaisical. It's chill. You don't have to worry about anything. But the idea of lugging suitcases onto a train that you don't know anything about, and then you have to lug it to the hotel. Yeah, it was. I think I told Caroline. Yeah, I told Caroline I think I strained a calf. I'm still like kind of dealing with it a little bit. All those cobblestones. Don't get it.
Yeah, we're gonna do the Orient Express. Apart. Yeah, we're gonna do the Orient Express from Italy to France, and it'll be good.
It's so surprising that. Yeah, the day you mentioned that, now I just get flooded on my feed of Oriental Express just from our conversation. Like, they listen. Speaking of listening, this is our 200th episode of the Dental Wealth Podcast.
Is it really?
It is episode 200.
The industry's changed so much since that first podcast. I remember that first podcast. I remember where we were at when we did that podcast. Man,
it was just you.
Probably 50. And then you and I would edit it in iMovie. Remember that?
Yes, and it would take us all of 48 hours to do so. And we wouldn't be able to use our laptop. So for those of you that want a little glimpse of what Tower Leadership used to look like way back in the day, so Eric and I would do a podcast, and then it would take literally like 24 to 48, because we didn't know what we were doing, 24 to 48 hours to edit this thing. So during the editing process, you kind of have to let your laptop sit there. So Eric and I, being the quick starts we were, would, sometimes go on an adventure, which would lead to a dealership sometimes. Just driving Hummers and just random cars for a few hours. And it was.
Yeah, I love going to dealerships. Yeah. It's a car shopping is kind of a fun thing. I love cars. So yeah, we would go and end up in some crazy vehicles sometimes.
Yes, that the old days of Tower Leadership. And I was pulling some stats, and it's just so you guys are aware of all the people that are listening. So we have, and I'm looking at the total downloads by country. So we have people from the United States, from Canada, from Singapore, Germany, Norway, United Kingdom, China, Dubai, Belgium, Spain. I don't know if our clients or the listeners are just traveling a lot, but we got some people listening across the nation.
We have an international audience. To our international audience.
This is, in 2025, we're going to be coming to you in several different languages. Reese, have fun editing that. A little translator AI function on it.
That's right. We can throw like 5 subtitles at the bottom, right?
Yes, it'll be great. And I was pulling our most downloaded podcasts. So there was 3 that were pretty close together. So the 3 most downloaded podcasts that we've ever done were the one we talked about, base hits and not home runs, guard your cup, and mastering uncertainty. So those are the 3 that resonated most with our audiences, and it's kind of funny because they all kind of line up together. Base hits, not home runs. Tell the audience, refresh their memory on what base hits, not home runs means.
Yeah, I think that when you're in finance, you look at base hits, you look at bunts, and you look at home runs. And The problem is oftentimes people mistake base hits for home runs. And so, or home runs for base hits, I should say. So what ends up happening is they take a huge risk and then they count on it as a base hit. Base hit is what you can count on. Count on retirement. You can count it, make sure it's repeatable. You know, it happens every single time. You know, that is a base hit. It's reliable. You can count on it. Bunt is conservative. You know it's going to show results, but it's low return. But we need some bunts in life. Home runs are the thing you swing for the damn fence on, and you go, well, look, if I hit it, great. If I don't, that's fine too. And people don't know the difference. And so I'll have people come to me and they'll be like, oh, this is guaranteed going to work. And I was like, that's a home run. You don't know that's going to work. And you don't ever want to think that your home run is a base hit. You need to know it's a home run and go, look, I'm swinging for the fences on this. If it doesn't yield me any results, it's okay. But I'm going to swing for it. Because sometimes you knock it out of the park, and that's great. You got to swing sometimes. But don't get confused. You got to always make sure you have base hits and make sure that you're looking at that and making sure that's the right moves.
And I think an important part of that is know who you are. If you know that you're an average hitter and you want to hit 330 every single time, you're not going to just be swinging for the fences every time. So your business model will determine kind of what you're going to be. You know, we always say, you know, the biggest movers in the industry are the ones that have access to capital. So if you are someone that is a, 8 location ordeal, we were talking to a gentleman the other day that owns a DSO, and ultimately he is probably in the home run category. That's what he's looking for. You know, we talked about it this last time. He's looking for exponential growth. If you're a base hit person and you just want to be base hit for average and have steady growth, then you're probably going to make linear moves. So when it comes to base hits and home runs, know who you are. The second most popular one was guard your cup. I felt like we do this one often, and it's a very powerful one. So for the listeners, explain to them what guard your cup is.
Yeah, I mean, this is an old Jim Rohnism, which is the idea that you've got to be careful of who you spend time with and the conversations that you put yourself in. The people say I want to be 1%, and it's just so comical because they do what 99% of people do. They ask 99% questions. They hang out with the 99%ers. They are constantly listening to cynicism. When they go for business advice, they go ask somebody who is probably less successful than they are. This is, guarding your cup is understanding that you have to tune out and block conversations that don't serve you. People that do not think at a level you think at, that do not operate, because Jim Rohn would say, guard your cup. I mean, 1 drop of cyanide in your cup will kill you. So, sometimes we allow conversations to enter, ourselves and our business that don't belong there, and they don't serve you. And so you got to guard your cup. You got to be careful, like who is filling up your cup and what conversations you're having, not just at work, but at home too. Like who is ultimately giving you information, and do you actually utilize that information for growth, or this matters. You've got to make sure you guard your cup. You got to make sure that, when someone comes up to me and it's a conversation that I'm just not going to tolerate, like I just shut it down. I'm not listening to that stuff. And I also don't fill myself up with a bunch of stuff that doesn't serve me either. I mean, even this whole presidential election and all this stuff, look, guys, don't get caught up in all this crap. Like they're hoping, if you're Fox News or CNN, you're loving this, man, because people are like hanging on every word, and then, they fighting back and forth and all this other stuff. Guard your cup. Like you can't look, the executive branch has little to nothing to do with the way your life turns out. It's just truth. And so if you let all this stuff get into your psyche and I always say to doctors, you only have so much attention. Forget time for a minute. You only have so much attention. Right. So let's just say we have a bucket of attention and it's at 100, but if you give 30, 40% of it to, and by the way, anyone who's ever been through a divorce, they know what that looks like, because that divorce will take 80% of your attention. If your business is struggling, that can take a lot of your attention. If these things take up your attention, maybe it's something that's positive, right? That takes up your attention, but things take up your attention. So you have to understand that do not let things into or go into your cup that take up, 70% of your attention. That's why if someone calls me my associate. Okay, it's time to move on. It's taking up too much attention. Or, my operations director or whatever. If something's taking up that much of your attention, I've got kind of a rule for myself. Like if I have to have the same conversation about someone like 5 times in a row, like it's time to move on. It's taking too much attention. And I think that's part of Garden Your Cup.
And we did this, we released this episode back in 2022 and we're still getting downloads on it. And we did an entire event. We did an entire mastermind session just based on this concept of guarding your cup. And as we look at kind of what the next quarter looks like, I think it's important for you guys you got to buckle down. I think it's becoming more and more difficult to guard your cup because you're getting text messages, you're getting phone calls, you're getting spam, you're getting a lot of stuff that's going to take you off course. So you guys need to start putting things in place that allows you to do it. If you guys need to like a refresher on both of these, remember this is base hits, not home runs. This was released in 2022, and Guard Your Cup. That was episode 160. So the third most downloaded one was Mastering Uncertainty in Dentistry, Strategies for Growth. This was actually released this year. This was released back in March. Mastering Uncertainty. So when I see those numbers, it tells me something. At the start of this year, people were uncertain about the future of dentistry. So we have a quarter left. We have a quarter left to get something accomplished. Has anything changed in the last 6 months that you've been telling people, Eric, about the uncertainty in dentistry? Has there been any kind of thing that just came up and you're like, I got to tell the world about this? Or guess what, guys? Is it still the same thing? We've all told you before, winter has came, it's coming again. What should people be looking out for?
Well, and I think on that episode, I was talking about the idea that depending on how much uncertainty you welcome into your life, determines how much growth you can have. Because uncertainty, there's a level of uncertainty, and one of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got was, hey, if you want to grow your net worth, you've got to be willing to be scared, and you have to be willing to take risk. And the more risk you take, the more likely you're going to have results. And look, sometimes those things don't pay off. I mean, I think people want a 100% guarantee on their home runs that's going to work. And it doesn't always work. But you don't stop investing because it doesn't work. That investment didn't work out. Maybe another one will. And so you keep moving along. So, the topic for today, I would tell you, I just want to talk about one thing this morning. We're going to have a short podcast today. So I want to just say this, and this is episode 200. I should have had like some kind of fanfare or graffiti or something.
I got something in mind.
Okay. But I want to say this. I got a phone call this morning, and it was from a business broker. And the business broker had a question for me, which is, hey, I got a $5 million plus business. Okay. And they don't have a GL. Okay, so GL, just so you guys understand, is accounting term for the general ledger, and that's where all the books go: the accounting, the taxes, the accounting, the payroll, the supplies, the lab, all this stuff goes in there. Technically, most of you guys don't have taxes unless you live in like Washington State or something. So anyhow, so what happens is that a lot of times, I've told you guys for years, accounting and dental is crap. It's just crap. And people who say that they're dental CPAs are usually full of it. There's no specialty. Look, there's nothing special about the dental world that you have to be a dental. It's just marketing. It's not true. Like, I'm a special dental CPA. Just don't quit listening to that stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. It really is. It's just absurd. Like, it's probably one of the most simple accounting forms there is. Like, so stop. Like, it's cash-based accounting. It's really simple. So if someone says, oh, I'm a tax CPA, I'm a dental CPA, just in your brain, just go, yeah, whatever. And just trust me on this one, okay? And so now all of a sudden, this person basically is that their tax CPA, just do books occasionally, download some transactions from the bank, download transactions from the credit card, and now they've so that they could do the tax return, right? So they basically, this practice has no data points at all, doesn't know their numbers, doesn't know their ratios, but that's not even the biggest problem. Not only do they not have that data, but now we're in a situation where they want to sell. Well, if you're going to buy this practice, you're like, hold on. So they have no books. They have no QuickBooks. They have no data points. There's no trends. I can't see comparisons. No, because we just let the dental, quote unquote, CPA just do our books to get tax returns done. Well, now it's like, okay, well, now I got to pay someone a tremendous amount of money to go clean this up. And I said to this broker, I said, look, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't buy it. And I was like, I really don't care. If it's $5 million and it's doing, even if it's got $1 million in EBITDA or whatever, I said, I wouldn't buy it. Personally, I wouldn't buy it. I said, this thing is like, there's too many possibilities of red flags. There's too many things I don't know what's going on. And buyers are going to be turned off. Buyers are going to be like, what? So they don't have any books? Yep. And it's like, no, they have no books. And it's like, they just put together books, quote unquote books, just to do the tax return, which is what happens in dental all the freaking time, which is why we created a tax and accounting firm back in 2018. Cause I was like, when I came into this industry, I was like, what in the world? This accounting is garbage, because these quote unquote dental CPAs were doing the books, and they were doing just a crappy job at it. And most dental accounting, listen, I don't care. You say, well, mine's different. Yours is the same. Most dental accounting is absolutely shit. Like if you're offended, you're offended. I don't really care. I mean, the truth is that someone needs to tell you. Most of you just have bad accounting. It's just the truth. And I don't mean, I had somebody come into this industry recently. I was talking to them and they were like, oh my God, all the books that I see are just garbage. I was like, I've been saying this for years. Look, most dental accounting is trash. You don't get the numbers. You don't get the data points. You have no cash flow analysis. You have no idea. Most people don't even get a cash flow statement. No one's looking at the business and telling them what's going on, because tax CPAs, that's not what they're trained on. They have no idea how to actually go through and actually look at ratios. It's not what they do. They're just putting together a tax return. And so now we're in a situation where this person's worked their career and they're ready to sell. And it's like, no. No one's going to buy this. You got to go back now and do what you should have done for years and get clean books. But if you had to clean books years ago, you probably could have made business decisions that made the business twice as big. And this happens all the time. And I want everyone to know this, because I'm talking to you listening to this right now. Now, you might say, well, my books are greater. My tax, look, I'm watching my tax CPA at Tower start saving people $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, $200,000. I'm like, why is he saving these people so much money? Because he doesn't come from dental. I'm serious about this. He's not a dental CPA. That's why he's saving them all this money, because a lot of the dental CPAs are not good at what they do. And look, you can say, well, gosh, Eric, you're being a little harsh. I care. I'm trying to reach out to you and let you know that I care, and that a lot of this is bad. And what could you do with an extra $200,000 or $300,000 that your CPA is probably missing because he or she's a quote unquote dental CPA, or you don't have the right books because you've got a quote unquote dental CPA. I'm just telling you flat out, if someone says I'm a dental CPA, I would honestly, and I don't care. You can put them on my podcast. The vast majority of them are not good. And they found an industry where it's cash accounting, and they thought, well, I'll just go ahead and do these books. It won't be overcomplicated. So when I got to do the tax return, it won't be that hard. It's not that many transactions. And then I'll brand myself as a dental CPA. I'll show up to, conventions and stuff and tell people that I'm a dental CPA, and then people will buy that crap. And then they'll say, well, I'm a dental CPA. Most people are overpaying in taxes in this dental industry. Most people's books are incorrect. And even if they were correct, they don't know how to read them.
I think it's really, we're seeing it more and more. It's really, really, really affecting the generation that is looking for the sell. That's at the point where they're looking to sell their businesses. Because what used to happen in the dental world, so you guys are kind of clear on this, it's back in the day when you sold your dental practice, you sold it to probably a new associate that was coming in, or you sold it to a local guy that's down the street or something like that. Now you are selling to larger groups. You were selling to DSOs. We've talked about it. We don't want you guys to sell at your profession, but you're doing it anyway. So we might as well talk about what you need to do to be prepared for it. So they are looking for clean financials. I think, one of my biggest things is with Tower Financial Group is getting that in the marketplace, is letting people know. They're looking for clean numbers. They're looking for light quality of earnings. They're looking for adjusted EBITDA. They're looking for monthly financial statements. They're looking for balance. They're looking for cash flow statements. They're looking for this stuff. And if you do not have this prepared, you're bottom of the totem pole for them. You're automatically, if they ask you that question, hey, how quickly can you get me your financials? And if you have to say longer than 3 months, you're out the door. You're automatically
but go back to your canceled. Go back to your point, Matthew, and about this. Listen, if I say to you flat out, And I told this broker, I said, like, I wouldn't buy the business. And I wouldn't, by the way, not unless we got everything cleaned up and I could see everything. I want you to hear me on this. Like, if I come to you and I say, hey, send me a profit and loss statement, send me a balance sheet, give me a cash flow statement. Like, like if I say this stuff to you and you go, let me get with my accountant. I don't know how quick you can get that turned around. And right away I'm going, oh, we've got a mess here because their operations are a mess. This thing is not clean. And I know that as a buyer. The very first thing I'm doing as a buyer is like, if I see that, I'm like, I know I can actually offer less because I know you don't know what you're doing. I do. I know you don't know what you're doing, and I know I can offer less money because you don't really even understand your numbers. Yeah. There is a red flag there when you're going to go buy a practice and someone doesn't have clean data points. And you're right, Matthew, it's such a good point. It used to be that it was 65% of collections. So it's pretty simple. You didn't even need financials, honestly. You could pull the software, you could look at collections. Collections at $1 million, you go, the practices were $650. It was so simple. And it's funny that people would pay for these valuations, but it's not really. I used to always tell people, like, I can do a valuation. I guarantee I can come within about $10,000 of whatever your valuation comes back, because it's not really that. It's not rocket science. Yep. And so when we go back and say $5,000 or $10,000, I mean, these people would pay for these valuations. I'm just letting you know, like, it was pointless. It was easy. $1 million, 65%, $650. That was it. But now, because people are looking at internal rate of return. They're looking to make money off their investment. They're doing financial math. Now all of a sudden people are saying, hey, let me see your books. It's the same reason why a practice comes in there. They're like $4 million in top line revenue, but they've got $400,000 in EBITDA. And they're like, why won't somebody give me $4 million? It's because you have $400,000 in EBITDA, and we got to go clean that up. But I got to make this thing cash flow. And so it doesn't, like, how long would it take me to get my money back? Like, I can't make that make sense. So you have to understand that there's it's a different model. It's a different calculation, and people are going to do that. I would encourage everyone listening to this to stop talking about your top line revenue. In dental, we need to get away from talking about our top line revenue. We just need to get away from it. We need to stop saying I'm a $10 million business, or I've got definitely how many locations you have. We just need to stop that. Like, it's asinine. Stop it. Like, because it doesn't matter anymore. Well, I'm doing $10 million in, it's funny because we were talking, you and I, Matthew, were talking to a capital investor recently. And it was funny because every time I talk to him, I'll say something like, yeah, they're doing about 7.2. He goes, man, that's a great EBITDA. And I'll say, no, that's top line revenue. And he'll go, why the hell are you talking about their top line revenue? So what I'm trying to say to this, make a point here, is capital people do not care about your top line revenue. That means nothing to them. All that matters to them is how much cash flow comes from the business, how much EBITDA, net income, right? So that's what they care about. So you have to do the same. You have to look at your business and go, what is my EBITDA goal for 2025? Like, what was my EBITDA goal for 2024? Have I hit the goal? What am I off pace? If you don't have a clean set of financials, you definitely have no clue, because you can't make adjustments to it, which is why I get so passionate about this, because I've been ringing the bell for years. And the fact that people are trying to sell their practice now and they're like, oh my gosh, it's not a red flag. It's a red flag that you don't have books. And we see it all the time. Like your tax CPA is not doing books. Just so you know, they're putting together the minimum amount that's required for them to do the tax return. That's so different than you having business numbers. And so if your tax CPA is doing your accounting, I will promise you it's probably not good. It's probably,
or if you're doing it.
Oh my God, if you're doing it, we got a whole nother ball of wax. Now there's somebody listening, Matthew, right now that's like, oh, I do my books and I'm great. I'll tell you a story.
That's why I had to point that out.
So I'll tell you a story. Years ago, it's like 2013, I had this doctor. I know exactly what his name is. I remember this guy. And he said to me, he said, Eric, he said, I have mastered QuickBooks. I am so good at QuickBooks. I am the best doctor. I know my QuickBooks in and out. I know da-da-da. And I looked at him and I said, congratulations on mastering a $20 an hour job. And he was like, huh? I was like, yeah, I mean, you could be making $1,700 an hour, but hey, I guess you could make $20 an hour. And he was like, oh. I was like, dude, you should not be in your QuickBooks. I don't think I've been Matthew, the last time I logged into my QuickBooks, I think it was 17. Like, I mean, we're going on a decade. Like, you don't need to get in your get out of your damn QuickBooks. Like, you shouldn't be in there. Like, I promise you, you should not be in your QuickBooks. Now, there's somebody listening whose spouse does their books or something, and they're like, no, okay, that's a whole nother conversation. They shouldn't be in the books, okay? You need to have an accounting firm who knows how to do your transactions. And by the way, we have an accounting firm at Tower, but because I want to keep arm's length, I have an external accounting firm that I pay every month. Now, that firm does not do my taxes. Just so you know, they don't do my taxes. I have a different firm that does my taxes. I have a firm that just does my accounting, and Matthew and I will go through the financials once a month with them. I already do know the numbers because we do finance meetings once a week. But I do find I have financials that are done weekly. Excuse me, that are done monthly, and then we look at it weekly. But then I have a different firm that does my taxes because I don't want my tax firm doing my accounting, because I don't want them to do my books just as a function of getting my taxes done. And I have an amazing tax firm, but if I gave them to do my books, they would just do the minimum amount required to do my tax return. And that's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. And so you need clarity of financials. You need clarity of numbers. You need clarity of tax. You need to know your anticipated tax liability. Shame on you if you wait till October 12th and all of a sudden you get a call from your tax CPA who says, hey, you owe me an extra $120,000 to go to the IRS. And you go, oh, my tax CPA is a piece of junk. He didn't tell me till the last minute. That's your fault. Like, you should have been looking at your books all along. You should have been looking at your net income all along. You should have been projecting all along. You should have been asking questions all along. Do not, look, I beat up on the CPAs now, okay, a little bit on this podcast. I'm going to give them a little credit. You guys are slow to get them information, and then you don't do any calculations. And so at the end of the day, you get mad at them for telling you what you owe. But the truth is, if you actually had a handle on your books, you'd probably know way in advance. Like, I already know what I anticipate owing in 25. Like there's not a surprise. Like, my tax bill is going to come in a day or two. And here's the thing about it. Like, the funny part is I already know what it is. They haven't given me the number yet, but I know what it is. And I've already got money set aside for it. So the moral of this podcast is, the moral? I don't know if it's a moral, but the point of this podcast is, like, clean your books, like, get them really sharp. The first person who says my books are great are probably the one who's got the most messed up books. And I found that over time. I'm serious. In my career, people that have said they've got the best books have the worst books. Yeah. You should have someone review your books. Like, even major C corporations or New York Stock Exchange, they have audits. People oversee their books. They make sure their books are correct. The truth is that your books are probably incorrect. And your taxes are based on those books. If your tax CPA is doing your accounting, it's probably not giving you what you need, because that's not why they do books. They do books for one reason, that's to pay your tax return. You need a firm that's just looking at just your accounting, so make sure you have your numbers, all your ratios, everything in line, can give you advice to projected taxes, all that other stuff. Like, we have multiple CPAs at Tower Financial Group, which is a subsidiary of Tower Leadership. And the thing is like, I always tell people when we're in foundations, I said, Melissa's group, who does just accounting, I always say, Melissa, how many tax returns have you filed in your career? And she was like, none. I think people make an assumption that all CPAs do taxes. It's just not true. There's audit CPAs, there's business CPAs, there's tax CPAs, and we've hired business CPAs to go through your financials and your books and all that stuff and make sure it's all clean, and we can give you projections and data points and break even and all that. And then we have somebody else who runs a group that does taxes, which is completely different. We do not put them, they are not the same thing. They're a completely different service for a reason. And I think you guys need the same. And I know I went off a tangent, but I'm passionate about this because this group is now, they worked so hard to get to this place, and now they're probably not gonna get the valuation they want because they wanted to save $400 a month or whatever the number is, right? I mean, it's like, what? Like,
yeah. There's three things we can always talk about on the podcast. Number one, philosophy. Number two, financials. And accounting. We can go into so many conversations about our experience. And the last one's marketing. So we can go into those 3 concepts all day, every day. And I think that's with uncertainty coming up, with kind of the marketplace shifting a little bit, get your numbers together, guys. I think, go back, re-listen to a lot of the podcasts. We always say that at the end of these things is go listen to these podcasts, go comb through, see which ones were your favorite episodes, go in and look at those, rewatch those, share those with other people. It's important for you guys to just always be learning, always be, guarding your cup, putting information into your cup that's going to help you progress and become a better leader, a better business owner, and all the above. So episode 200 kind of in the books right now, and I told you I had something special. So here you go, people. For episode 200, I am going to have Ken bring in the 90-day book. So here's your thing. Okay, guys, the first 3 people. So the first 3 people that email Matthew at Tower Leadership, again, MATTHEW at towerleadership.com, we are going to give you a 90-day macro practice book. So this 90-day macro practice, here's the guidelines. All right, the first 3 people that email me, you have to go to YouTube. Okay, you have to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and find the very first episode that we posted. If you can send me a screenshot of this, you subscribing, and then the very first episode that we ever posted on YouTube, you can do this, just go to the filter and do that. You will get a 90-day book. And if you're watching, you can see Eric now has the 90-day book in his hands.
This thing is massive.
By the way, we did 180 pages.
Yeah, it's like, how many pages is this thing? Okay, so what we did, just so you know, this was something we put together around 2020, and basically I said, hey, here's a 90-day, and we sold the heck out of these for $7,500. Because I said, hey, listen, if you were going to jumpstart your practice, like, what if I gave you 90 days and I just gave you like 2 videos a week. It's 2 or 3 videos a week. And I gave you exercises and follow throughs and how to do this and how to do that and how to build the fun. And this book, we had people just explode their revenue growth for this book. I didn't know you were going to do this on this podcast, by the way. You guys, he just threw me off. I had no idea he was doing this. But we had people take this book and just explode the practice. Now it's a lot of work, but man, you can get your team rallied around it. You can get it's just such a massive program. Now I might be a little heavier or thinner. I have no idea what I look like in those videos, so you'll have to give me some grace on that. But this is a great program. I didn't know you were going to do this on this podcast, but so I mean, people paid $7,500 for this program. Yeah. A lot of people paid for it. So Matthew's giving it to you. I didn't even know he was doing this.
So first 3 people, all you have to do is take a screenshot saying you subscribe to the Tower Leadership YouTube channel, go to Dental Wealth Podcast, and then find which one was the first video we ever posted. If you send that to me, the first 3 people will get this 90-day program. With that, like Eric said, you get 3 videos a week, guys, from Eric. And you have templates to walk through, and you got examples and PDFs. Like Eric said, we used to charge $7,500 for this thing, and people were getting massive results. So I'm giving it to the first 3 people that email me on this for episode 200, just in honor of episode 200. 200 episodes in the books, countless years, countless hours. We're thankful, we're grateful for all of you listeners that keep the Dental Well podcast going. And as always, guys, like, subscribe, share. We continue to do this. We're excited for the next 100 episodes, and we will see you guys next time. Mr. Morin, thank you for joining us for the 200th episode, sir.
Thank you, my friend. Y'all get at it.